The most important thing to do when the shot goes wrong is what you did before the shot actually occurred. And that is practice like you hunt, not for 3D tournaments. How many times do you have a shot where your feet are planted squarely on the ground, you've got all day long to observe the target, come to full draw, okay, take your time, oh, there's a gust of wind, wait through it, okay, the wind stopped, okay, pick your spot, nice, that's not hunting, that's shooting in the backyard.
Today, Deer and Deer Hunting takes a look at a sore spot for all of us hunters, when the shot goes wrong. If you're human, chances are pretty good you've made a bad shot. Obviously, we need to avoid them if we can, and that begins with practice.
Go ahead and put up tree stands, put out a ground blind, put up a redneck. Whatever it is that you hunt out of, practice out of it. Wear actually your camo. Wear the same clothing that you're going to be wearing while you're out hunting. Shoot in low light, shoot in windy conditions, shoot when it's raining lightly. Any condition that you're going to hunt in, don't be afraid to practice it. You make practice as real as you can, and the amount of shots that go wrong are going to go down, but guess what? It's still going to happen.
All the preparation in the world isn't going to ensure perfect accuracy. So what do you do after that errant shot flies?
So the shot goes wrong, now what? Now what do you do? Okay, so hopefully you've already prepared yourself. And what I mean by that is you have a checklist in your mind. When that deer's approaching, precisely where was that deer standing when you shot? How did it react when you shot? Where did it run and where was the precise last location you saw that deer? Critical information for any shot. So keep your excitement under control and keep those things in mind.
Check every ditch, every individual tree, every blowdown, but mainly you grid search it. And if you grid search it, you are going to find that deer if it's there. You become that tracking dog and you bird dog every inch of that ground until you find him. You take that approach, you're not going to find him every time, but you can always rest assured that he's not laying dead on my ground going to waste. And that we owe to the animal and we owe to ourselves.
One thing I've learned after trailing hundreds of deer over the years is that a bullet or arrow through the intestines or paunch is going to take that deer some time to expire. So I want to give that deer some time. If I run after it right away, if I start trailing it right away, not a good idea. Chances are I could push that deer, blood trail dries up, the deer's going to die, but it's going to be a hard time finding it. On a non-vital hit, bones or muscle, that's tough. And that's going to require probably some help if you don't have a lot of experience. Because those are the type of deer that you're going to want to pursue almost immediately. You want to get that deer moving and bleeding so you can get another shot in him. It's not an ideal situation. It happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. And once you get on the trail of a deer that's got a bone hit or a meat hit, you're going to better learn not only shot placement, but you're going to better learn deer behavior when they're wounded and how to trail them in subsequent adventures. So the thing is to emphasize shot placement, shot placement, shot placement. Doesn't matter if it's with my Matthews or my Thompson Center or my 10-point, whatever I'm hunting with, shot placement. If the shot goes wrong, stop. Think about it, make a plan. Chances are you're gonna have to back out, get some help, come back, and then you're gonna be prepared to find that deer at the end of the blood trail.
Land of Whitetail is brought to you by Cuddyback. Cuddy Link, 16 cameras, 1 cell plan, $10 a month. by Thompson Center, America's master gunmaker. Get armed and deadly with Easton FMJ arrows, and by Matthews Archery.
Visit sportsmansguide.com today and see why they're the place to go to get where you want to be outdoors.
This week, Steve Bartilla takes us along on a hunt he's not proud of to illustrate what he does when the shot goes wrong.
So what do you do when the shot goes south? The hunt we're actually going to watch is me making a gut and liver shot on a buck. No good excuse. I just blew it. I rushed the shot. That's a good aid, good mature aid. I'll be brutally honest with you, I wasn't able to get the shot on film, and I rushed it. Absolutely no excuses. But I'm self-filming, and I just wasn't able to do it all. And I ended up, I definitely gut shot him. He's a dead deer, but we're gonna need to give him some time. And as much as I hate whispering in the camera, I have to because he's not far away. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit tight here for a little bit, and then I'm going to sneak out, come back in about 4 hours, and hopefully we get him. Man, I'm telling you, that is a nice maturity point right there, boys and girls. This was fun. Great morning, ended up passing up a 3.5-year-old. And now this. Ooh. Probably good that I gotta sit here for a while because I need to calm down a little bit. So, if you'll recall, rushed the shot this morning. Ended up hitting him a bit further back, about 6 inches further back than I meant to. Snuck out of there nice and quiet. Now we're gonna go back in. It's been a good solid 6 hours. Hopefully we caught some liver and he's piled up. If not, he shouldn't be feeling very well, and hopefully I can get another shot in. Let's go see what we find out. So, we got some pretty decent blood right here. Now, keep in mind, he's moving slow. He's moving real slow, so you're gonna have better blood than you think, but this is a little bit on the encouraging side. The stand's right over there. He ended up getting up and walking off this way. Now, unfortunately, I did happen to find where that deer bedded. There was about a half dozen beds in an area not much bigger than a 10-yard diameter. If I'd waited till the next morning, I would have found him there. He wasn't dead yet. All right, we found 8-10 beds, and now the buck just crossed the creek to the cut to over the other side that you're on. And I'm telling you, this is some smoking fresh blood. So at that point, I had to back out for that night. I returned the next day, and what did I do? I resumed my grid search. I went ahead and searched over the same areas that I had already searched because I knew he moved from where he was, and continued to search the areas I didn't. Luckily, some crows happened to give away his location, so I was able to come up to him and find him that way. Watch for crows. Watch for predators like coyotes. Look for any deer sign you can find. Frankly, that damage right there is the reason why I did push it. I'll be honest with you, I don't feel good about eating the meat. But at least we recovered the darn buck. As you can see though, I have beaten every inch of brush on this ground. And that's exactly what you need to do when you mess up. When you mess up and you know that deer's out there dead, don't give up. Don't give up. Just take a very systematic approach, make it count, and you know what? Depressing as heck, horrible situations, they can work out nice for you.
Coming up, we examine missed shots and the lessons they provide.
Have you ever heard of Murphy's Law? What can go wrong will go wrong. As hunters, we know this all too well. I didn't invent the term, but if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. You know, last night I made one of the biggest mistakes I could make, and you saw it in the first doe that came in. You know, we talk about this all the time, and it can happen to anybody, is that when you're hunting out of a ground blind, or even a tree stand, mostly ladder stands, but when you're hunting out of a ground blind with a bow or a crossbow, you really got to be aware of where your limbs, your cams, and any part of that bow or crossbow are in relation to your surroundings. And I made a mistake. I got excited in the heat of the moment. A doe came in, we're trying to get her on film, and what I did is I put that crossbow right up into the window and I took the shot. And if you don't really see it on film, you definitely hear it. But what happened is when that bow went off and that released all that energy and came forward, one of the cams hit the window and made a huge sound, number one, but number two is it affected my arrow flight. My arrow just went right off into the side of that bank by the pond. Deer was completely unscathed. I mean, it missed it by 10 yards. But that's one thing that, as much as I try to tell myself going into that situation, really got to step back and think about it when you're in the blind heat of the moment. If a deer shows up, I can only really give myself a couple options. When I'm in a blind, I don't expect to be able to shoot 360. Normally what I have to do is pick 1, 2, maybe 3 little spots to shoot out of, and then position myself in that blind. Okay, if I'm going to take that shot right there, no, I'm too close to the window, I'm too close to the wall of the blind, I need to move my chair back. So I move my chair back, I get positioned. Okay, let's say the deer shows up right here. Can I shoot right there? I line it up and I look, yeah, that's plenty. I have like a foot of space there. I can get by with 6 inches easy, you know, up to that window, but I do not want to be close to that window or anything on the blind. Same thing with a tree stand. I've had this happen with my regular bows, my compounds, especially out of ladder stands that have those rails that come down off the seat. If you're sitting, which is what I do most of the time, or even standing, and you come to full draw, and if you have maybe a shooting rail in front of you or like a side rail, make sure every part of that bow is free and clear, that you can get the shot that's not going to touch anything. Thank goodness nothing happened as far as bad, nothing happened to the bow. It's just a bad shot and I missed. So keep that in mind when you're hunting, and maybe you won't be like me and mess up.
A slow year for me is shooting a dozen does. A big year, I'll take out 50 with a bow. Okay, that is awesome practice. And I'm telling you, the more you practice this stuff, the better off you get. Guess what? I still blow shots. We're humans, we're not machines. The most important thing to do when the shot goes wrong is what you did before the shot actually occurred. And that is practice like you hunt, not for 3D tournaments. whatever it is that you hunt out of, practice out of it. Any condition that you're going to hunt in, don't be afraid to practice it.
When you're tree stand hunting, a lot of times we shoot high because we're at full draw, we're looking down at that deer. It's not the same angle. It's not the same angle as if I'm standing in my backyard shooting at a 3D target that's perfectly placed broadside 20 yards away. It's not always about the equipment, and I would go as far to say as it's more about shot placement. No matter whether you're hunting with a bow or a gun, shot placement is crucial.
Land of Whitetail is brought to you by 10-Point Crossbow Technologies. There is no substitute. By Sever Broadheads, straight through it. I scent killer gold with Hunt Dry Plus technology. Apply it, dry it, and go hunt. Antler King, bigger bucks, healthier deer.
We do this a lot during the season, practicing with our bows and crossbows throughout the season and throughout the day. But how many times do you really test it? For sure, with broadheads. I know I don't, and that's a mistake that I make sometimes, is that I get so dialed in on the hunt that I sometimes forget to check the little things, and that's, is my crossbow or bow still shooting accurately when I switch to a new broadhead? Or when I go from field points to broadheads. As much as I like to think that my field points and broadheads hit in the same spot, they don't, and that's what happened to me on this trip. You know, we got here, we sighted in our crossbows, and they were dialed in, but I was shooting with field points. And how many times have you done this? You shoot with field points, okay, now I'll throw on a broadhead. You shoot it, you might adjust a little bit, or you might hit right in the bullseye and declare yourself good to go. That's what I did, and it was a mistake. And just as he's gonna get into my shooting lane, I'm waiting for him to turn broadside. He's gonna walk right in front of me 15 yards. And just as he's gonna get into shooting position, he cuts back in. That buck must have caught just a tiny bit of our scent. He turned and he went the other way. Hey, that's hunting. You know, I was very disappointed. Thankfully, I didn't get a chance to shoot at that buck the first day because we came back, middle of the day, we ate lunch, and you know, let's go shoot a couple arrows just to be sure. Holy man, is that low. And sure enough, here my arrows were hitting a good 5 to 6 inches low, and it was consistent. We shot 6, 8 shots consistently low. It was dialed in left to right, up and down, it was not. And I'm so thankful and glad that we checked it, because I would have missed that buck clean on the first day. And that's on me, my mistake. So I got it dialed back in. And that's right where I shot enough shots. I shot another 12 shots from 50 yards all the way down to 20, just to be sure that all those pins were on. I wasn't about to take a 50-yard shot, but just to make sure that all those pins were dialed in, they were dialed in, and man, was I thankful I did that. Got him. I got him. Oh, what a beautiful Nebraska buck.
Hunt 'em big with Steve Bartilla.
So many of us are really, really good at getting out there and practicing. You know, especially us bow hunters. Man, it's just fun to shoot bow. You know, I love grabbing the Matthews, heading out in the backyard and flipping some arrows. It's frankly relaxing and fun, and it is important. It builds muscle memory on proper shooting form. And that is awesome for winning 3D targets. But it's only step one when it comes to actually killing deer. If you really want to take your game to the next level, one of the things that dawned on me years and years ago is that what separates the good hunter from the killer is the one that takes advantage of virtually every opportunity they're presented with. So why don't we do something crazy? Let's practice killing deer as much as we practice shooting bow. You know, by that what I mean is you're gonna hunt out of a redneck, practice out of a redneck. You're gonna hunt out of a ground blind, practice out of a ground blind. You're gonna hunt out of a tree stand, practice out of tree stands. You're gonna hunt spot and stalk, get out in the woods with your bow and do some spot and stalking with a judo point of stumps. Practice the way you hunt. For me personally, If I'm up in that tree stand in that redneck, wherever, and I'm thinking about, can I make this shot? What do I have to do to make this? I'm not going to make it. No. Or let me put it this way instead. There are times when I will make it, but my success rate is going to go down substantially. I need it to be a reflex. How do you make it a reflex? You practice it over and over. Start out by if you're going to hunt out of tree stands, for example, start out by going ahead and putting yourself perfectly square. The first, oh geez, I don't know, 3-4 times I practice from a tree stand, at least, maybe up to 5. I'll go ahead and come to full draw, pretending that target is actually horizontal to my position, and then bend exclusively at the waist down to the target until I'm on it. That's proper shooting form. There's 2 things that we have to keep in mind. All bending occurs at the waist, straight line from here, parallel to the across the imaginary straight line across the chest. You can't go like that. That does no longer keep it parallel. That crosses them, and that's going to mess up your shot. Okay. Instead, it's all at the waist. So after doing that, then I'll go ahead and purposefully stand like this with the target over there. I'll imagine the target is perfectly parallel to me. I'll come draw. I'll bend down to about where I believe the target is, and then twist over, all at the waist. You practice this stuff, and you know what? It's that much easier to make the shot when it really counts.